Hello, I'm Antonio Cristiano the fourth. So in these videos, I've been going over a lot of like what's been going on with me and stuff that's been going on around me and stuff. But this one or this is particularly, it has to do with why some a lot of the personal stuff, but we're just gonna go out there. So you could have bank statements, then your bank statements after 7 years, they could only go so far back as 7 years. Okay, so there's a couple problems I have with that. One, I didn't find anything anywhere. Of course, you're gonna have to look more in depth, but of course, they're gonna have to be the ones that I signed back then when I first initially open up my checking account. That's gonna say 7 years, and then you only could go back 7 years in your bank statements. So I didn't find anything anything that says 7 years in bank statements, but I called and they said that they could only go back 7 years. They have 3 years worth of stuff that they're able to give me, so it's okay. But I want all of my bank statements from the time I opened the account back in 2010 December till when it got closed or when they're done. So, or up until now. So, with that being said, is I just look cute, and these are just general things out in the open. Investopedia, mortgage terms and loans go for our range from 30 to 15 years, but your bank statements only go so far back as to 7 years. So what's to say you've been paying your house for 15 years, you signed a 30-year mortgage, you're paying your house for 15 years, and then the other seven, say they lose 3 years and they're like, oh, you owe 3 years worth of mortgage payments. And you're in your retirement. People are retired. You're 65, or you're not 65, you're 77. And they're gonna take your house away from you because they can't find 4 years worth of statements. It's just a couple of things. So I couldn't find where do you sign anything that says 7 years only go back on your statements? I couldn't find anything. Um, how when mortgages are between 30 to 15 years, also like you have treasury bonds and stuff that are up to 15 years. Another thing I found is that as a statute of limitations for the IRS, they're only allowed to audit you for up to 10 years. So there's a couple things on that, like 3 years, usually they're ruled within 3 years, it says, but 10 years. And if it's out of the 10 years, I'm guessing what? You just don't pay taxes on that. So if you made an investment, let's just an example. Of course, I'm gonna need to find all this information, but the sitting on the computer is kind of difficult. Not that difficult, but I'm not getting like right to it. So if you were to have an investment that was 10 plus years old, so then if you have it 10 years past, that would mean what? You would owe no taxes on it unless that account was used. But if you had never used that account because you had left it there, why? That would mean you wouldn't have to pay no taxes on it. One, two, what were they doing inside the account? Who was inside the account? That's the big thing. Like, then how is it that I'm in trouble if the statute of limitations 10 years back, right? So if I'm putting my name on this because I have to, what is it that is going to say that I'm in trouble for something? When I had made my deposit, clearly my bank statements, but they won't provide me with bank statements back that long, but I'm pretty sure you could get them. It doesn't make sense why you can't. And it just on what's so important about like Bitcoin is that it's on a ledger, the blockchain that holds this information. You could see all the transactions. So going back, you're going to be able to see all the transactions. You're going to see the initial making of the account, the initial making, the initial deposits, where they came from, who did them. The peer-to-peer, anonymously. I'm not going to go over it again, but it's purely a thing of where you could send money to anyone, anywhere. Kind of like, just give a quick example. If I was to send, or if you were sitting in the Cayman Islands and you were sending $2 million and Joe and Ted wanted to they bought a boat, and one person owed the other person $2 million. But of course, in the Cayman Islands, places like them, there, well, what's said is you could just transfer the money. So that's kind of like the whole Bitcoin thing. But of course, now that it's grown and it's actually real and stable, what is it to say, like, how is it going to be taxed if these things are literally, they're there linked by my name, but you hold it, so then it shouldn't be taxed. It should just be there. And I could be able to put that up as my own capital, because it's not seen as a currency. It's seen as an asset, like property. So then what? You're going to be paying so much money on it every year, but that's not what it said. I just have a lot of information that I need to go through, and these are like some of the things that on a daily basis I think about. But I'm just surprised at how I was told. I'm told, I was yelled at one point that if I wanted to go prove it myself, then go get it, right? And now every single avenue and way, even if it's right, I can't even go there. It's not possible. Which I really for sure know that I could probably get all those bank statements. There's no way that they just throw away all those bank statements. They're all on, it was all electronically back from 2010. What we had internet, computers, and all those things. I'm pretty sure you could have that. All of those are there. They don't just disappear. They're just out of thin air. There's no way. There's no way. Because if banks just get rid of ledgers like that, that's a ledger. It's a ledger that belongs to the credit union, bank, or whatever. So be, I'm not putting blame on anything, but it belongs there. What is to say that these banks they just get rid of statements, and whether they like to or not, they raise or they lift interest rates or lower interest rates to the liking of whatever the situation is. So they just go 10 years, 7 years back and say this, take it out. We're going to hire them we're going to lower them since we built so many houses within these 7 years, and we're going to sell houses with a lower percentage rates. And then if it's like the supply and demand, but like the banks are just doing it out of nowhere. Just literally, like, they're just, and the feds, they said that the feds regulate it, but it doesn't really seem regulated if they're doing bailouts for twice in the last 10 years. Like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It's just, this is how people lose stuff. This is how literally divorces and people with homes sometimes lose stuff. You could be with someone for 10 years. They know that 7-year mark. Boom, they had made all that, somebody had made all that money, they put all that money away from the other person. Then a certain line hits, and one person is out on their ass, and the other person goes and takes off with all their money that the other person made. You could have someone, it doesn't matter the gender roles, you could have someone work one or the other. It happens. These things happen. People do these things to each other. That's what's so bad. And then sometimes you wonder, like, why guy is walking down the street and he just gave up on his life, and it's because, well, I mean, back in 2008, 2009, I was fresh out of high school, but you saw people just like divorced, left on the street. Where'd the other person go? They went to go fend for themselves. No, they had a little bit of money that they had stashed up by themselves and took off. And then these people can't go back and get their bank statements for past let's say 8 years. Let's just say on Mark, he needed to go 8 years because he needed to find the Coca-Cola investment deal that he had made. You know, him and his wife had sat there and made it, and he had done it. He had put all that in there, just left it alone, and was like, boom, you know, that's gonna be my, or buy me a car and, you know, finish paying off the house because I still have my retirement pay. But then takes the Coca-Cola money, gone. He goes back. He can't even prove that he bought it because it's 8 years back. She had signed it over her own in her own name. Guy walks away, and then he tries to go back to the bank. The bank's just like, "Oh, we don't have it, sir." And then he's like, "Oh, well, what about my retirement?" He goes, "Oh, you had your wife as your beneficiary." He's like, "But I'm divorced now," and it's just she's just like, "Well, it says here that she lives in Florida," and it's just like, "But all the money's hers." You see how people just get like bad situations, all because you can't go back and prove that you made that payment. Or in situations where people go and forge your stuff. Scary world. You know, I'm just like, wow. I mean, I understand things are, I feel like things are really good, but the damn, a whole, why to keep a whole secret? And the first part of it is that, like, what I'd like to say is that, like, it's not the fact of one person having money, it's the fact that all people, we're not having access to our own ledgers and our bank accounts to go as far back as wherever. Like, for example, me, I have to want to clear up child support. I can't do that, even though I paid. And on top of that, I get off the phone with the lady trying to do the bank statements, not even 5 minutes after. And the manager of the apartment complex where I live says she didn't get the payment of rent. So that means I'm going to be kicked out because I asked for bank statements. So I have nowhere to live just because I called a credit union to get my bank statements. I don't even have the bank statements. I just called, asked them about it. That's it. We're not even, not even anywhere. But all this isn't about me. It's not about me. It's about how the world works. The world isn't just one big scam. I'm sorry that people probably think that. There's a lot of conspiracies out there that are true, but the world isn't just one big scam. It's not. It like and just like this morning we were I was talking to Sandra and I said she said, "Oh, it would be kind of fun to try and wash that much money because we are talking about how there was 600 bitcoins that were gone." I was telling her about the article that I read, and she said, "Oh, it'd be pretty fun trying to get rid of all that money." Like 1% of the population of the United States, or a little over, or whatever, is the military, right? They couldn't even wash that money that fast. And what I mean by washing it is have it all untraced. Like you couldn't do that. You couldn't even do that. Hundreds of billions and up to a trillion, maybe over $1 trillion. Are you kidding me? And it's one big secret, but oh my god, like it blows my mind. Blows my mind. Blows my mind. Blows my mind. It's not the fact that it's other people's. It wasn't just like one account, one mine. I had one. I have one. But it's other people's accounts. That's the other 600 coins. Those are other people's accounts. What happens to them? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody doesn't even care if I get something. I mean, I at this point, it doesn't even like. It's like I've shit. Like I want nice stuff. I want to be able to do good things for myself, but still, like I had someone just look at me in the face and be like, "It'd be fun trying to do it all." Like you couldn't buy enough targets. A target with the whole retail sale, I guarantee you, it's not worth $1 million. Everything in the store, I guarantee you, is not worth $1 million. In one store, maybe close, maybe like a couple $100,000, but like, are you serious? I'm amazed at how we think that the only one that gets consequences in this only thing is the person that is trying to alleviate the situation. There's so much mess that has been caused. The only person that's going to be subject to their faults is the one that's trying to be like, dude, this like there's a way to fix it. No, no, like yes, there is, but money makes people go crazy, crazy. Oh my god, I'm glad that I'm not one of those people. I'm really glad that I made that investment, and then like actually most of the time I used to tell myself that I wish I never did it, but like I did it, and there's nothing that I could do back about it. It's gonna follow me like forever until I'm dead. Whether anybody likes to think so or not, that I don't do something about it, it's like I say, it's literally a magnet to my fucking soul. It's a magneted to my soul. That's how much but that's I believe in like there's a God. Yes, God is up or God is all around us, but it is glued to my soul. It will not let me walk away from it. It is like, go ahead, walk. away. Go live a peaceful life and do whatever. It's like, no, dude, you got to justify this shit. And yeah, proof and like, oh my God. The other night, I got a picture of my dad and his wife sitting out there, right? They're laughing, hollering, jumping up and down, saying all kinds of shit, right? As soon as they got like this whiff that I'd gotten a picture of them, shit got real scared, serious, semi scary. It doesn't really scare me anymore. It's just like tension. Shit got real serious. There's a dude sitting outside. All this shit is relatable. They're just bad things. Like, oh man, some stuff I don't even want to talk about because I mean, some stuff I can't talk about because it's like that person has to come up and say something about it. Can't just sit there and think that, yeah, she needs to come up and say it herself. Like, I can't like to, but no. The only thing that I have best advice is you need to do something about it instead of living in fear your whole life. Like, I'm not living in fear my whole life. I'll just not even bark back. Like, obviously something's gonna happen. You can't. We signed mortgage loans for 15 to 30 years, but I can't see my banking records past 7. Yeah.